Hello, Evolutionary Astrologer Bryan Colter here for your horoscope video for the upcoming Taurus new moon that happens on May 11th. Before I get to that though, big announcement, my website is finally out. Yay! It's just got a couple hiccups with it that I'm going to iron out, but all in all, I really love how it looks. I'm launching 2 new schools, the School of Consciousness and the School of Astrology, so I invite you to check it out. I'll put a link above or below, or you know how it goes. And I also invite you to check out the short little 2-minute promotional video I have right on the front page. You just hit the watch video button. My partner made it, and she is amazing. And I look at that video, I'm like, oh my God, she did like the work of 6 people. I'm quite proud of it. So let me know what you think about the website below in the comments. Now, on to the astrology. The title of this video is The Art Form of Simplicity, and the reason for that is we are now in the Taurus season. The new moon's happening in Taurus. We have Uranus in Taurus. At the beginning of the month, we had Venus in Taurus. So a lot of Taurus energy right now. And Taurus is the great god of simplicity and is teaching us that the simple things are the important things. And life, as I'm sure you've noticed, has been the opposite of simple. The last year or two, it's been incredibly complex and demanding and stressful for reasons I don't even need to describe. You've been living it, So Taurus is teaching us to go within, basically, because it's the sign of nature. It's the sign of the animal spirit and animal instincts. Archetypally, it's known as the bull in astrology, but really it's connected to any animal. And it's connected to our bodies. It's everything earthy and tangible. It's living through the 5 senses. It's practical, it's solid, it's reasonable, it's like one foot in front of the other, remembering the art form of the simple things in life like touch, enough rest, good food, animal instincts, animal actions is Taurus's domain. Now there's a couple very distinct energy signatures of this month, and the energy is going to be ramped up in a big way when we enter the eclipse season at the end of the month. But for the beginning of the month, it's like, let's slow things down, Taurus says. That's Taurus's wisdom. And if you had to take a prescription here from Dr. Bryan, and I say doctor very loosely, okay, is to get out in nature, for example, repeatedly, not just once, I put in my hour, it's like, let's connect with the ancient. This is a perfect time. The question is why? And when we understand the evolutionary intention of Taurus energy, we find that out through understanding its connection to the planet that is said to rule Taurus, which is Venus, the goddess of peace and serenity. So we're trying to stimulate an inner calm and that peacefulness. How? Through nature, okay? By a present tense, body-centered awareness as we live through the 5 senses. Which, of course, is easier said than done when we're living in a very chaotic time now. It's also easier said than done when we recognize another major feature of this month is that Mercury is currently in its own sign. And Mercury is the planet of speed. It's the fastest planet in the solar system. It whips around the sun once every 88 days. And it's no longer in retrograde. It's moving direct, and it's moving very, very fast. And we take into consideration it's moving very fast through Gemini, its own sign. Whenever a planet's in its own sign, it's really, really strong, and it's moving quickly. It's already a fast planet, the planet of mobility, and the planet of the mind. It represents our lightning-fast cognitive reflexes, represents speaking, represents teaching and learning. This is a great time to learn new things if there's a new subject that you're interested in, because the mind is really zippy now. It's also the planet of our thoughts and how we perceive reality. And yes, it's in its own sign at maximum speed, but also during the new moon, it's in a near exact conjunction with the north node of the moon that's also in Gemini. And the nodes of the moon I've talked about in many videos, but whenever the north node is in a sign, it's the karma that is ripening for the collective, and it's very useful for all of us to achieve high-end Gemini, okay, really through the rest of this year, because the nodes move quite slowly, but especially now during this new moon. And the new moon itself is about new beginnings, new projects, new directions. So what new directions can we take where we can practically and tangibly learn something? That's kind of the fusion of the practical sign of Taurus and the learning sign of Gemini, Mercury and Gemini, okay? How can we learn something more practical so we can perceive reality more clearly? That's a core evolutionary intention now, at least one of them. And that's a wonderful way of focusing our mental energy, okay? Because our mental energy right now has turbo boosters. It's like the mind is going 1,000,000 miles a minute. And there's a dark side to that and a light side to that, let's say, or at least a damaging way of handling this energy and an uplifting way to handle it. A good way to focus that energy is through learning or teaching or writing. Okay, perfect time to pick up journaling or something like this, or to write that book you've been flirting about with so much. There's that new moon, new project, new beginning. Okay, you want to pay close attention to where this new moon is happening in your own personal birth chart. This new moon is happening at 21 degrees and 17 minutes of Taurus. So if you know where that is in your chart, you can figure out, okay, where do these new beginnings seem to want to be focused in my life? And this is how you can really understand the current astrological weather in a much more exacting fashion in your own personal life. Obviously, I'm generalizing to a wide audience here. And if you don't know how to find your chart or read your chart, in my new website, I just released a 40-minute video teaching you how to do that, so you can apply a much deeper level of specificity to this information I'm telling you here. Now, the key question becomes, what's the core evolutionary intention of these combination of energies here? Taurus, Mercury, Gemini, okay? Well, for starters, this whole getting out into nature, connecting to our body, keeping our conscious awareness in our body. Eckhart Tolle has some beautiful teachings about this in his book, The Power of Now. One of his methods to stay in the present moment is to keep your awareness in the body, which is a very Taurus thing. Taurus isn't really the sign of spirituality, but it can live in a very spiritual way, and that's living a spiritual way, Taurus style, if you will, okay? So grounding out this torrent we have going on in our head, okay, finding that grounding rod within by getting out into nature, sinking our toes into the dirt or the river or whatever it is, listening to the birds chirp, listening to music, through the ears, that's through the five senses, whatever. It doesn't have to be nature, although that's my personal favorite. And this is a way to find that inner calm instead of letting the mind just run rampant. Because whenever Mercury is in Taurus, if we allow it to go out of control, let's say, especially in a very stressful environment in which we're existing now, the mind can get in these negative feedback loops about the stress, about the fears about the future we're all co-creating, or what's happening in the now. There's a lot of terrible things happening, there's no doubt about it. And if our mind becomes too fixated on that, and we're going at 1,000,000 miles a minute, it can be very hard on the nervous system and on our stress levels. So instead of going into this place of anxiety and nervous system burnout, we get out into nature, to find that, tap into that art form of the simplicity. So it's really good for us to not go absolutely crazy in our own heads. This reminds me of a TED Talk video, I think it was. And one of my favorite ones, I don't listen to him that often, but it's one of the most favorite ones I've ever heard. It was by Ken Robinson, I think his name was. He's a college professor or something like this, and he was actually giving a speech about how the education system needs a revolution. We need to evolve into an education system that honors the individuality of each student. Ideas I wholeheartedly agree with, and I do think is a part of this Aquarian age that we're stepping into. We just have to break free from the old Saturnian rigid paradigms of the education system, which is outdated at this point. But anyways, Ken Robinson was kind of joking about himself and his fellow colleagues his fellow college professors, how they basically walk around in life with their head tilted to the left, meaning they got all this energy in the left side of their brain, and it might be good for chiropractors as they get kink in their neck, but it's good to get a balance, and that's the goal here. With the Taurus energy, through nature, we find the balance instead of walking around to the left. And he also joked about how professors often, they don't all illustrate this principle, but they often feel they walk around as disembodied heads, and they think of their body as kind of a vehicle that carries their head around. I thought that was pretty funny. And he also joked about if you go to a party with a bunch of professors, and they are at the dance floor having a good time, and there they are writhing uncontrollably on the dance floor, because they have so much energy up in their head. They're not really connected with their bodies in a big way, generally speaking. This is from him since he's in that career. So it's interesting. So that's the goal here, is we don't want to be stressed out, disembodied heads now. We want to get in the body, the ancient earthy Taurus wisdom. Now there's a third distinct energy signature of this month. It happens right after the new moon, maybe May 12th or May 13th, where Jupiter enters its own sign of Pisces. Here we have another planet entering its own sign. Jupiter is known as the ancient ruler of the sign of Pisces. So Jupiter is going to be really strong for almost the next 3 months. And Jupiter typically spends about 1 year, give or take a few months in a given sign, okay? But here it is dipping its toes in the water, because it is a water sign, for about 3 months, and then it's going to go retrograde, and then it's going to go back, and then it's going to go back into Aquarius, okay? And then next year, right at the end of this year, actually, late December, it'll re-enter into Pisces, where it'll be until about May or so. So we're getting an almost 3-month preview with Jupiter in Pisces of what that will be like in the first almost half of 2022. And this is quite auspicious. This is quite beautiful. Jupiter is known as the greater benefic, the planet of luck and expansion. Okay. So yes, it is the lucky planet. And I believe, although we have this pretty tense Saturn-Uranus square that's ongoing throughout the year, of course, I've been talking a lot about it. It's going on right now. But it's really going to ramp up next year as it forms its second exact square of 3 of this year. But I feel like, although that's going to be intense, of course, that's just the nature of that square, but I feel like it's going to be softened a bit, or cushioned a bit by this very auspicious event of Jupiter entering its own sign of Pisces. Now, I did call it the lucky planet, and it is true, especially when it's in its own sign. The toast lands butter side up 70% of the time. That's just the nature of a strong Jupiter event. So that's important to also point out. It's important to know where it is in your own personal birth chart, okay? Because you're going to experience some good fortune in that area of your life. But there's kind of a caveat here. Instead of just the fortune teller style of astrology, it works best, and the luck is really active if you're working with the energy in the co-creative experience with the divine. And how you work with Jupiter in a positive expression of it, the evolutionary intention, is to build up your own inner faith. Jupiter, I've said this many times in my videos, is always whispering in our ear, you're stronger than you think you are. Even if you are a pretty well put together, confident person, Jupiter is still whispering in that ear of yours, saying, or both ears, saying, you can take this further. You can expand further. Take up some more space. Make some big, healthy bets. Okay. Now, if you do that, if you have the audacity to believe in yourself, especially in that area of your life indicated by your birth chart house that Jupiter's currently transiting through, wherever you have Pisces in your birth chart, that's about where Jupiter's going to be now. If you have the audacity to do that, okay, to place those big bets in that area of your life, that's when the so-called lucky planet is really activated and things really work out for you in a very synchronistic, auspicious, and beautiful way. Now, as most of you know, all the archetypal energies have a high-end expression and a danger or a low-end expression. And one of the key dangers with Jupiter in Pisces is excess. That's the shadow side of Jupiter, because Jupiter likes to say yes to life, likes to expand, okay? And sometimes we can have excess, okay? And we can expand our bellies during Jupiter events. You know, that makes me think of the Santa Claus. You know, the archetype of Santa Claus is obviously a very Jupiter person, Jupiterian image. You know, because it's a jolly, generous, optimistic, larger than life, saying yes to life, big old belly, you know, probably eats too much and drinks too much because of that jolly red nose of his, you know. So that captures so much of the Jupiterian spirit. So we want to be wary of excess. We also take that idea and tie it into the Pisces idea, where the danger, or let's say challenge for a lot of Pisces people, or people working with this energy, is addiction. And that derives from the fact that Pisces times and Pisces people are very psychically sensitive. We're in psychically sensitive times now, especially over the next 3 months, okay? And this is aided and abetted by the fact that Neptune, the other planet that rules Pisces, is also in Pisces now, okay? Where when we talk about the grand scheme of things, we're being called to collectively raise our consciousness. We're in a very spiritual time right now, which in a lot of ways feels like spiritual warfare. That's a whole nother subject I don't want to get pulled into right now. But the lofty goal here is to become more godlike. You know, it doesn't mean we're guaranteed that, okay? But the energy, the planetary energy, is supportive of that. Okay, the veils between dimensions are thinner now. We're more psychically sensitive. And if we don't work with that in a constructive way by deepening our spiritual and meditative life, then there's a chance, especially when the mind is going 1,000,000 miles a minute and we're stressed out, to become overwhelmed by our own level of psychic sensitivity and then get led to addictive behavior. So just be aware or wary of excess or this desire to be pulled into Netflix binging or, you know, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be drinking. Okay, there's many ways to numb ourselves. And that is a weaker response to the energy here. You know, it's fine to do a little Netflix binging from time to time, but just as long as it doesn't become a lifestyle, okay? And this spiritual concept, you know, Neptune and Jupiter in the sign of Pisces, we just tie that, I hinted at it before, we tie it back into Taurus, the spiritual wisdom of attempting to live into the present moment and try to ground out those feelings and those thoughts rather, and point those thoughts in a constructive way. And we realize that the combination with all this Pisces energy and the Gemini energy is that our thoughts are very powerful now. And the thoughts are powerful no matter when it is, but especially now, because our thoughts really exist on the fifth dimension, okay? And if they're not scattered and they're focused with concentration and positive intent, we can accomplish great things now with the power of our thoughts. And I love the idea of connecting our thoughts for positive intent with nature or the body. You know, sending loving thoughts to our body. And the idea here is mind over matter. Gemini, Taurus, that's a very spiritual Piscean concept. Mind over matter, or mind affects matter. And just riffing on nature here a little bit more, it always amazes me when I go over to my partner's house, her parents' house, over to the in-laws. I walk into the kitchen and I'm in a garden of orchids there in the kitchen. She has so many orchids and they're always flourishing. And I'm always amazed. It's like, wow, how does she do this? Because I've had limited experience with orchids, but although I don't know very much about how to take care of them well, obviously, they bloom once and I can't get them to bloom again. Sometimes they'll sit there for 2 years without flowering. So again, that's probably my fault, but my feeling about orchids is they're a bit finicky of a flower to try to nourish. But hers are always looking beautiful and immaculate and perfect. And I know why. She knows how to take care of them. But she has a relationship with her plants. She's a Taurus, of course. Taurus people typically have this profound connection to nature, whether it's animals or plants or the water or whatever. They like to build things. They like to nurture things and grow things. And her orchids are always thriving because she talks to them. She has loving thoughts and intentions, and she has a relationship with these plants. And although I perceive them to be finicky, probably why they don't grow when I'm trying to take care of them, because I have those negative opinions about them. It's like, what's your problem? Why aren't you growing? Even though, we could really have this co-creative process with the divine if I had more loving intent and focus and talk to them, even literally. Who cares if people think you're crazy? Because plants, or matter in general, respond to human intention and human thoughts in this interconnected universe. It's beautiful. And I just love this combination of energies of Taurus, Gemini, and Pisces. It makes me think of these examples. Here's another one. Synchronistically, I was on Facebook yesterday, and I saw this picture come up on my feed of this young girl, I think maybe 11 years old or something, and she was doing a science experiment for her school. And she thought, I'm going to do this experiment with plants. And she had 3 plants in the same pots, same soil, same seeds, right next to each other, starting to grow them at the same time. And on pot number 1, she put her cell phone with a recorded message on repeat of her saying terrible things to that plant, like, I hate you, or whatever it was. It was nasty. Okay. And then pot number 2, no recordings at all, just neutral, just growing on its own. Pot number 3, on repeat, her recording saying loving thoughts. I love you, and strong and loving intentions to this plant. So the one she sent the negative thoughts to didn't even sprout, didn't even bloom. And even beyond that, it started to mold, And pot number 2, it grew maybe, 6 or 8 inches, looked a little weak, a little frail. And then pot number 3, no surprise, it was like twice as big as pot number 2. It was just thriving. It was just amazing how we affect matter. And with the veils between dimensions thinner now, our thoughts more powerful, if we can harness them towards inner calm, peace, and love, of course, to ourself and our own bodies, so we can thrive, just like those plants that I just talked about. We're a living organism too. Our own bodies respond to that. Or talk to the divine, the archangels, the Holy Spirit, whatever you want to call it, whatever's taking care of our body. Thank those processes for their tireless work to keep this body going. This very complex organism that we're working with here, this temple that is holding our soul, our immortal essence, as we can live through these avatars. Like, what a blessing this is. It's challenging, no doubt about it, especially now. But sending those thoughts stimulates that inner calm within this body temple. And then send loving thoughts to others, to nature, in this present tense perspective, instead of walking around with our heads to the left as disembodied heads, writhing uncontrollably on the dance floor of life, and instead we can become wonderful dance partners with all that is. And that's the core evolutionary intention, with the goal always being to expand our consciousness. Now we're going to transition into the meditation part of this video, where I'll be using binaural beats. So just as a reminder, it's very useful to use headphones if you want to partake in this meditation, where we will try to focus our mind on nature and creating nature within ourselves through a powerful visualization technique. Enjoy. Get in a nice, comfortable position with a straight spine. It's important to have a straight spine. It's the main energy channel of the body. And begin to breathe slowly and deeply all the way into your belly. Nice and slow breaths. And no pause between the inhale or exhale, just rhythmic breathing. And as you inhale, feel your belly expand. And as you exhale, feel it return back to its normal size. In and out. And try to feel your heartbeat in the center of your chest. It's very subtle. It's the rhythm of life. And try to coordinate your breath with the beat of your heart. 4 beats of the heart per inhale, and 4 beats of the heart per exhale. And maintain this breathing pattern throughout the meditation. And take a moment to bring your conscious awareness into your entire body. And thank the Creator, whatever that means to you, for its tireless work on your body and maintaining your body. And then feel a very grounded feeling as you move your conscious awareness down through your legs and into your feet. And now focus on your left foot, and specifically the toes of your left foot. Feel like you're in your left toes. Feel the energy there as your attention is held on the toes of your left foot. Keep breathing. And visualize in your toes a bright white light. And as you inhale, see that white light move up into the entire left foot. And now the left ankle. Up into the left calf now. And feel all the tissues in your left calf relax. Now move the white light into your left knee. And your left thigh. And each time you inhale, see the white light grow brighter and brighter, shining in all directions around you. And now move your attention into your left hip. And now immediately focus on the toes of your right foot and see the white light in those toes. Feel like you're in your toes. And see the light move into your right foot, right ankle, right calf, and now your right knee. Now up into the right thigh. Feel all the tissues in your right thigh soften and relax. Now up into your right hip. And now visualize the white color in and around both of your legs at the same time. See them shine brightly. Now with pinpoint awareness, focus on the center of your abdomen. And see this big white globe shining throughout your entire lower abdomen, all the way up to your solar plexus, that whole region. And each time you inhale, see it grow brighter and brighter, like a bright white sun. You feel it grow brighter and warmer. Now move your awareness up into the center of your chest. And don't focus on the heart, just focus on the entire chest area. And see again a bright white color with a slight pinkish hue. And say to yourself, I love you. And cultivate feelings of unconditional love. Love for yourself and unconditional love for other people, even if you experience tension with them in your daily life. Now move the white color over to the right shoulder. Feel like you're in your right shoulder. And now move it down to the right upper arm, bicep area, down into the right elbow, the right forearm, the right wrist, and now into the right hand. And see your right hand glowing brightly in all directions. Especially the tips of your fingers. And now shift your awareness to your left shoulder. And your left upper arm. Left elbow. Forearm, wrist, and now the left hand. And see how bright your etheric left hand is, especially the fingertips of your left hand. Now shift your awareness up to your throat area. And feel any tension that you hold into your neck. Release and let go. Now move the white color up the back of your head to the crown chakra area. You might feel a little tickling sensation on the top of your head. And now move it down your forehead, eyebrows, and eyes, nose, and your mouth. And now see that white color in and around your head turn into a golden white sun, shining brightly in all directions. This is the fifth dimensional center of your body. Your creative center. And see that golden white sun go brighter and brighter with each inhale. Deep, slow, rhythmic breathing. Now visualize yourself sitting near a meadow on a beautiful spring afternoon. And visualize your etheric hands in front of you. And see a small bird in your hands. And watch it take flight from your hands. And continue to watch it as it flutters over the meadow and settles on a branch of an apple tree covered in blossoms. And then see out in the distance against the deep blue sky a large ivory white eagle soar through the air, circling above you. And he dips and rises just with the tip of his wings as it rides along the air currents. And study the rich meadow before you and all the animals there. Also, what does it smell like? The spring is re-emerging after a very long winter. And the thawing ground is moist and the air is cool. And smell the different flowers you see around you. See a cow grazing near the pond as she enjoys the new grass after eating dry hay all winter. What color is the cow? Brown and white? Black? See the cow with as much detail as you can. Just chomping away at the grass on that languorous afternoon in the spring day. And you can see a small brook flowing out of the pond. And dragonflies dart about the rain-swollen stream. And what a lovely, calming sound the running water is making. And on the far side of the pond, there's a flock of sheep and lambs, and they have those little bells around their neck. How many are there? Count them. And see the shepherd watching over his flock. He's leaning on the crook, enjoying the warm sun as his sheepdog sits behind him. can hear the bells of the sheep ring as they move through the grass. And the baby lambs are skipping and playing with each other. And as you stroll through this meadow, you notice all the flowers, the yellow daffodils scattered here and there, and move about as you wish. And you see that same bird that was in your hands, now it's near the pond. And the eagle soars overhead, and the sheep startle slightly as you approach. And notice how the earth feels on your naked feet, and feel the moisture soak around your toes. And the air is damp and fresh. The cow stares at you for a second and then continues to eat. Go up to her and feel her soft coat. She loves it when you scratch her behind the ears. And now you start to return where you began, and you look over the meadow. You see serenity and harmony everywhere. This is a center of calm and peace, which you can visit anytime you like when you seek solace. Now wish the harmony and peace of this meadow to spread throughout your entire body and the material plane. Now return your awareness to your breath and your body, and your awareness to the environment around you. And as you continue to breathe deeply, wiggle your fingers and toes. And bring your awareness back to waking consciousness. Whenever you're ready, open your eyes.